Welcome to the Daily Devo. My name is Diana. Today we are talking about the miracle of the widow's son in Nain. In today's miracle, we will find Jesus notice something, go over to interrupt, and then change everything. Take a listen and see if you can discover one of the truths that we can learn from this miracle passage. It's in Luke chapter 7, and Jesus, he's at the end of a trip where he was traveling from one town to another. And as they're approaching this town called Nain, Jesus notices that there's a funeral procession going by. Well, and today we see funeral processions driving by in a line of cars, one following the other with their blinker lights on. Well, back in those days, you would see people walking together with a body that was being carried by people. Well, Jesus, he notices this funeral procession, and we are told that it is the funeral of a widow's only son. It was her only person, so she's left alone. And in verse 13, it says that when the Lord saw her, his heart went out to her. So get this, Jesus was moved by compassion. Jesus walks over. He interrupts the funeral procession. He puts his hands on the very piece that they were carrying the body on, and he says to the dead young man, he says, "Get up." The young man, he gets up, and then Jesus gives the son back to his mother. Well, listen to what happens in this moment after Jesus raised this widow's only son back to life in verse 16. It says that the crowd, they were all filled with awe and praised God. "A great prophet has appeared among us," they said. And then they said this. They said, "God has come to help his people." And this news about Jesus spread throughout Judea and the surrounding country. Today's miracle, it reminds us that God has come to help his people. God has come to help his people. And what's even cooler is God can help his people. He is able to help. You see, the funeral procession, it was in place. The widow's only son, he was gone. The reality was locked in. They were marching forward, step after step, in the finality of the news of death. Yet Jesus noticed them in the midst of their march, and his heart was moved, and then his actions follows, and Jesus interrupted this funeral march of death, and he changed everything. He brought life and second chances. Do you see the compassion of God like the crowd did in this miracle? Do you notice the care that God has for his people like the crowd did that day? This miracle story, it reminds us that God has come to help his people. You are not left helpless. You are not left on your own. God delights and desires to help his people. So today, think about this story. Sit in the truth that God cared, and he set out in action to help long before the people noticed. Isn't that interesting? Jesus was walking over to the funeral procession long before that widow noticed him or knew what he was about to do. The same might be true for you, that God's in motion even if you don't see it yet. What Jesus did here at Nain is an echo of what Jesus was about to do on the cross. That God, noticing humanity's trouble because of sin, he was moved with compassion, and he came to earth and he walked with us. And Jesus, he laid down his life, and he took on the punishment of sin, and he stopped the progression of death for those of us who believe. You see, Jesus, he rose to life and he conquered death, and he's offering all of us pardon from our sin and our life with God, and he restored us back to God, just like the son was given back to his mother. Do you see how God has come to help the people in the miracle at Nain? Do you see how it echoes the help God is offering through his son Jesus? Think on that truth today.